So my name is David Lavecchio, and I'm an animator here at iRacing. One of the first things I started working on when I arrived here was our lollipop guy. We initially looked at how we can improve his existing behavior. And so that was my job, was to take a look at the things he was already doing and make them look better. Here is our old lollipop guy, and he's just sort of chilling, little animatronic-y. And as we approach, he just sort of, holds a sign out like that. It's enough and everything, but it can be so much more. We started to talk about what could we add to him, what could give him an addition to help communicate things to the player that we feel were important. Like, you're actually a little further back than you need to be right now, come closer, you're in the right spot, stop where you are, that sort of thing. What we're also going to have is when you're ready to go and it's time to go, there is a switch over to the car in first gear, and as soon as you're supposed to get out of there, a more dramatic pull away. So all of what you just saw and all of those things should be able to get into the next build. This is something that I could immediately jump into, didn't involve a whole lot of other disciplines. I could understand the tools that I was going to be working on in the future. And it was much simpler, and it is much simpler than the pit crew, which we understand people really do want to see, and we do too. But as far as my first task here, this made sense for that reason. Before you just jump into animating and moving things about, it's important to understand exactly what you're being asked to do. Make sure that your understanding of it and what the art director or whoever is responsible for the content in the game, make sure that you two are on the same page. That leads to the first step in the process for me, and that's getting a camera and recording some source footage of myself going through whatever it is, trying to recreate it as much as possible. And that helps because it allows me to visually then communicate what I'm thinking to the director. As an animator, a big part of what you're trying to convey, and one of the challenges with animation in terms of believability, is weight. And so if I can feel the weight as it's going from one place to another, it really helps me. It's sort of like a tuning fork. It gives me something to look at the animation with and say, does that look like I know how it feels, or like how I remember it feeling? That sort of thing. I'll take that footage and I will export it as an image sequence to bring into the animation software. Basically mark the poses that are what they call key poses. Those are the poses where if you were just to see these images, you would have enough of an idea of what is going on with the animation. And then once that's all said and done, you start refining until you end up with something that looks really nice and you're happy to have people see. From here, it's just a matter of going through the appropriate steps to get it into the sim, and then making sure that once it's in the sim, the brain that it has, or the choices that are available to it, are hooked up to the right logic. But this is just basically how you take all of those individual performances and get them to look like they belong to a character that is alive and aware of its environment and changing variables within that environment. You shouldn't notice it so much because it should feel natural. The overall contribution is to an experience that reflects what it would be like to be a driver. I'm looking forward to putting into practice the things that I learned through working on the lollipop guy. And so that would include things like different kinds of pit crews, driver animations for things like hand over hand and shifting and stuff like that. And then beyond that, we have the ambient animation, which is, if you were ever to attend a racing event and look around, what is it that makes you feel like you're part of a crowd? Each one of these areas brings unique challenges to be overcome. But I look forward to working with the team to do just that and to make the overall experience for the player that much better.